Okay, so you think Taco Bell sells a cheap taco, $2, maybe less on a promo day. You hand over some cash, you get a taco, everybody goes home happy. Simple transaction, simple business. Here's the problem. Behind that $2 taco sits a machine involving farmers, meat processors, packaging suppliers, hourly employees, a landlord, a corporate office 3 states away, an advertising fund, a tax authority, and a franchisee who put up real money to be standing behind that counter in the first place. Every single one of those parties wants a piece of your $2 before anyone calls it profit. So here's the mystery. If Taco Bell sells that much food, that cheap at that kind of volume, where does the money actually go? Not who makes money. Where does it go? Because those are two very different questions, and this video is going to answer the second one first. Picture $100 in sales walking through that door. Not one customer. $100 in total across however many transactions it takes. 30 of those dollars disappear into food and packaging before the order even reaches the window. Another 29 disappear into wages, taxes, and benefits for the people who made it. Almost 10 more leave for royalties and advertising before the franchisee has paid a single utility bill. 7 more go to rent and the building itself. Another 8 or so cover utilities, technology fees, and basic maintenance. What's left gets taxed, gets set aside for equipment replacement, and eventually, if everything went right that month, lands in the owner's account by the time that $100 finishes its journey through food costs, labor, rent, corporate fees, taxes, and debt service. What's left for the person who actually owns the restaurant is somewhere around $7. Sometimes less, $7 out of 100. And that's if things are going well. Which brings us to the real question of this video, the one most people never actually ask before they write a check for a franchise. What does it actually take to own one of these places? Not open one. Own one, sign the lease, hire the crew, survive the first bad month, and still have something left over at the end of the year. Here's something that surprises almost everyone who looks into this seriously. You don't buy a Taco Bell. You license one. When you sign a franchise agreement with Yum Brands, you're not purchasing a building with a familiar logo on it. You're purchasing the right, for 25 years, with renewal terms if corporate feels like granting them, to operate someone else's system inside a box someone else designed, using recipes someone else owns, on a piece of real estate someone else has to approve. The building layout, the equipment specs, the approved suppliers, the hours you're open, the exact way a burrito gets folded, none of that is yours to decide. It's yours to execute. Corporate dictates the paint color on the walls. Corporate dictates the font on the menu board. Corporate dictates how many seconds a fry basket sits before it gets dumped. You are not designing a business. You are running someone else's business plan with your own money behind it. And here's the sentence that changes how you should think about this entire business. Revenue belongs to the restaurant. It does not belong to you. Every dollar that comes in through that register is already spoken for before it lands in your account. Food vendors, payroll, the landlord, the tax office, corporate, all have a contractual claim on it ahead of you. You're not an owner in the traditional sense. You're a highly capitalized operator, managing an asset inside somebody else's ecosystem, hoping enough survives the trip to make the whole thing worth it. Which raises the next uncomfortable question. Before you see a single dollar of that $7 residual, how much do you need to spend just to get in the building? Most people assume the franchise fee is the expensive part. It is not. The franchise fee runs between $25,000 and $45,000. That sounds like a lot until you realize it's roughly 1 to 2% of what you're actually about to spend. The total initial investment, according to corporate disclosure documents, ranges from around $575,000 for a minor remodel of an existing space, up to nearly $4 million for a ground-up build on prime real estate. Construction and site work alone can swallow close to half of that number. Kitchen equipment, signage, and interior build-out take another chunk. Walk-in freezers, fry stations, drive-through headsets, digital menu boards, none of it is optional, all of it is expensive. Then there's architectural fees, permitting, technology infrastructure, opening inventory, and a working capital reserve just to survive the first few months before the register catches up to the bills. Break it down piece by piece and the picture gets clearer. Building construction and site development alone can run between $525,000 and $1.8 million. Kitchen equipment, signage, and interior finish work adds another $200,000 to $400,000. Architectural fees and permitting can run $50,000 to $100,000 on their own before a single wall goes up. Real estate acquisition, if you're buying rather than leasing, can be the single largest number on the page. Anywhere from $100,000 for a modest secondary market lot to well over $1 million for a signalized corner in a dense suburb. And before any of that, you need to prove you can afford it. Corporate requires a minimum net worth of $1.5 million and at least $750,000 in liquid, unencumbered cash. Not net worth on paper. Cash you could hand over tomorrow, so the franchise fee was never the gate. The building was always the gate. Now here's where the math starts getting uncomfortable. A well-placed location can pull in between $1.6 and $2.1 million a year in sales. That's a genuinely large number. It sounds like the kind of number that makes someone rich. Watch what happens to it. Start with $2 million in annual revenue. Food and packaging take 30%, leaving $1.4 million. Labor takes another 29%, leaving around $820,000. Corporate royalties take 5.5% off the top, roughly $110,000. The National Advertising Fund takes another 4.25%, about $85,000 more. Rent and occupancy costs take roughly 7%, another $140,000. Utilities, maintenance, and technology fees take a further chunk, somewhere around $110,000. Debt service on the equipment and the build-out takes more still, another $130,000 or so. By the time every mandatory expense has taken its cut, that $2 million restaurant is producing somewhere around $100,000 in net owner distribution. Maybe less, depending on the year, depending on the weather, depending on whether a competitor opened a block away in March. A giant sales number just shrank into something you could earn as a mid-level manager somewhere else. Except here, you also put up $1 million of your own capital to earn it, and you carry every ounce of the risk that a mid-level manager never has to think about. Here's the part of this business that's actually kind of brilliant. Most restaurant concepts run food costs between 33 and 38% of sales. A well-run Taco Bell holds that number down around 28 to 31%. And it does it with ingredients that cost almost nothing to begin with. The trick isn't the ingredients. It's the repetition. Seasoned beef, beans, 2 kinds of tortillas, a cheese blend, sour cream, a handful of sauces, lettuce, tomato. That's most of the menu. Every item on the board is just a different arrangement of the same short list of inputs. Folded differently, layered differently, priced differently. A crunchy taco and a burrito supreme are, at the ingredient level, cousins. So are a quesadilla and a gordita. The kitchen isn't cooking dozens of dishes. It's assembling dozens of configurations from one small pantry. Fewer unique ingredients means faster inventory turnover, less spoilage, simpler storage, and enormous leverage when corporate negotiates national purchasing contracts. A cheap ingredient list isn't a weakness here. It's the entire engine. Store-level portion control, a scoop here, a squeeze there, a scale calibrated to the gram, keeps that engine consistent from one location to the next, whether you're in Ohio or Arizona, so food isn't where this business gets dangerous. Food is actually the one part of the model that works exactly as advertised. The real monster is sitting one line item down on the income statement. A fast food restaurant is a machine that converts employee hours into fulfilled orders. And labor is the one input in that machine that refuses to behave. Labor typically eats between 28 and 33% of gross sales. Wages, payroll taxes, workers' comp, training, and the management team running the building. And here's the trap embedded inside that number. It's the same problem in both directions. Understaff the lunch rush and your drive-through line backs up, customers bail before they order, and you lose sales you'll never get back. There is no way to recapture a car that left the line. Overstaff a dead Tuesday afternoon, and you're paying people to stand around while your margin evaporates in real time, one idle hour at a time. There's no version of this job where you get to set the schedule once and walk away. Every shift is a fresh bet on how many customers are going to show up, and you're paying for your guess whether you guessed right or not. Add in minimum wage increases that hit certain states and cities on a rolling basis. Add in turnover that can run well above 100% annually in this industry. Add in the training costs every time a new hire walks through the door only to quit 6 weeks later. And labor stops being a line item and starts being a full-time management problem that never sleeps. If you're finding this breakdown useful so far, this is a good moment to hit subscribe and drop a like. It genuinely helps get videos like this one in front of more people who are trying to actually understand what they'd be signing up for. A Taco Bell doesn't just need a good location. It needs a location that can justify what that location is going to cost. Prime sites want signalized corners, 25,000 vehicles a day passing by, easy curb access, and enough stacking room for a drive-through line that doesn't spill into the street. That kind of real estate is not cheap, and it's usually structured one of 2 ways. You finance the land and building yourself through a commercial loan, or you lease it long-term from a developer under a triple net lease, where you cover the base rent, plus taxes, insurance, and maintenance on top. The target is 6 to 8% of sales going to occupancy. On a $2.5 million location, that's an efficient number. Call it $140,000 a year, comfortably absorbed by a busy store. But rent doesn't recalculate itself downward the moment your sales do. Let that same location's revenue drop to $1.2 million because a competitor opens across the street or road construction kills your traffic for a season, and that same fixed rent payment suddenly represents nearly 12% of sales instead of 6%. The building didn't get more expensive. Your ability to pay for it just got worse. And that asymmetry, fixed cost, variable revenue, is the single most dangerous structural feature in this entire business. It's the fault line running underneath every location. Whether that location happens to be thriving this year or not, up to now you've been thinking the owner sells the food, so the owner keeps the money. Here's where that assumption breaks. Every week, 5.5% of gross sales leaves the restaurant as a royalty payment to Yum Brands. Another 4.25% leaves for the National Advertising Fund. Add in technology and point-of-sale subscription fees, plus periodic mandatory equipment or interior upgrades corporate can require at any time, a new digital menu board here, a required kitchen refresh there, and you're looking at somewhere between $200,000 and $235,000 a year, leaving a $2 million location before a single dollar goes toward food, wages, or rent. That's nearly 10% of every sale, gone, contractually, no negotiation, whether the month was good or the month was brutal. It doesn't matter if a hailstorm kept customers home for 2 weeks straight. It doesn't matter if your best shift manager just quit. The royalty percentage doesn't ask why sales were soft. It just takes its share of whatever came in. This is the part of the business most first-time franchisees underestimate. The franchisor gets paid off the top line. The franchisee absorbs the risk on the bottom line. Those are not the same position, and they were never designed to be. One side is guaranteed a percentage. The other side is guaranteed nothing at all. The menu board isn't just a list of food. It's a pricing instrument. Take fountain drinks. A large soda might sell for around $2.80, and the actual cost of the syrup, cup, lid, and ice is somewhere under 30 cents. That's an 85 to 90% margin on a product that requires almost no labor to serve. Nobody's cooking a soda. Every combo meal that converts an a la carte order into a drink inside bundle is quietly one of the most profitable moves in the entire restaurant, and it happens dozens of times an hour without the customer ever thinking twice about it. Same logic applies to add-ons. Extra cheese, premium sauces, upgraded proteins, all of which take seconds of labor and deliver outsized margin. Combo pricing bundles items together so the customer stops mentally pricing each component separately. Nobody's doing the math on what the drink alone would have cost. Limited time offers create urgency and novelty using ingredients that are already sitting in the walk-in, so the new item on the menu often costs the kitchen almost nothing extra to produce. None of this is about the $2 taco anymore. It's about average ticket size, how much a customer spends per visit, not per item. That single number matters more to the owner's economics than almost anything else on the menu, and it's the number every digital kiosk prompt and every would you like to make that a combo is quietly engineered to move. Between 70 and 80% of sales at a location like this come through the drive-through window, which means the entire business is bounded by one brutal constraint. How fast can a single lane process a car? Run the math. At 4 minutes per vehicle, a lane processes 15 cars an hour. At a $9 average ticket, that's $135 of revenue capacity per hour, full stop, no matter how many customers actually want to buy something. Shave that service time down to 3 minutes, and you're up to 20 cars an hour and $180 in hourly capacity. Get it down to 2.5 minutes, and the same lane processes nearly 26 cars an hour. Pushing revenue capacity past $230 an hour without adding a single parking spot or expanding the kitchen. Push technology hard enough to hit under 2 minutes a car, and you're looking at over $300 an hour of pure throughput capacity from a strip of asphalt the size of a 2-car driveway. That's why the newest store designs obsess over shaving seconds. Dedicated mobile pickup lanes, vertical kitchens that drop food down to the window on lifts, AI order-taking systems that cut wait times and improve accuracy. None of that is about customer convenience as the primary goal, even though customers benefit. It's about raising the ceiling on how much revenue one lane can physically produce in an hour. Because that ceiling is the hardest constraint in the entire building. Every expense in this business falls into one of 3 buckets. Variable costs move directly with sales, food, packaging, royalties. Semi-variable costs move with sales but never hit zero. Labor, utilities, and fixed costs don't move at all. Rent, debt service, insurance, software licensing. That third bucket is where operating leverage lives, and operating leverage cuts both ways. Take a location doing $2.4 million a year. producing a healthy 14% margin, $336,000 in profit. Now dropped sales by less than half, down to $1.3 million. Variable and semi-variable costs shrink along with it. But that fixed overhead, the same $240,000, doesn't care. It's due whether the parking lot is full or empty, whether it's a holiday weekend or a rainy Tuesday in February. The result: a 46% drop in sales turned into an 86% collapse in profit. Fixed costs don't negotiate. They don't have a bad month alongside you. They just sit there, waiting to be paid, while your margin does all the shrinking, and there is nothing in the franchise agreement that cares how unfair that feels. Every story about this brand eventually circles back to a man named Glenn Bell, a World War II veteran who came home, opened a hot dog stand in San Bernardino, and became fascinated by the crowds lining up at a nearby taco stand run by a Mexican-American family. He didn't invent the taco. He didn't invent the folded shell. What he built instead was a system for making that taco fast enough, cheap enough, and consistent enough to sell it at scale to customers